Let's make sure this goes live. You guys have to agree. And I didn't make it private. What the heck? Oh. Make it private. Let me look to make sure it is not private.
Are you doing that? As far as I can tell, that cable is a read-only situation. I
Let me
can't
look, sure
find
it
any
is.
way to copy
Oh,
files.
read only, huh?
Yeah, I'll read the data from that external SSD, but I can't
So,
move anything to it.
and that's another reason why Apple had, they had stayed away from it for quite a while. Oh, good, it is public. Okay, because it's a spot where someone could put a vulnerability in. I mean, our phones are very safe, very secure, and the Lightning was able to only let people talk to the phone via the cable through their little chip in the Lightning. So when you go to USB-C, I'm sure they put some safeguards in there, but I'm sure that it's been difficult to engineer that. So, and Al, I sent by direct to you the links I'm going to talk about in a second here. So good question on that, Al, and I think it's good that it brought up USB-C because it's a big deal now because iPhone 15s all come with the new USB-C cable, and you can still plug it into your old charger if you get one that has the old rectangular one is USB-A. There are cables that are USB-A to USB-C, but USB-C chargers usually put out a little more power, and therefore your phone charges quicker. And so therefore you really want a USB-C charger and then a USB-C to USB-C cable, which is what comes with the phone. And the iPads are using the same thing. And then Apple will be transitioning. The newest version of the AirPods uses USB-C. So it's going to be all USB-C for quite a while now. And then Apple does have another thing called Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt 3 and Thunderbolt 4 use the exact same shape as USB-C, but it is a cable that can put much more data much faster if it's a Thunderbolt device. And the way you can tell it, for instance, on the new, if you get the better version of the iMac 24-inch, 2 of the ports will have a lightning bolt on it, and that's Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt is what you get on all of the MacBooks, MacBook Pros, etc. So it's more or less USB-C on steroids, but it's backwards compatible with USB-C, so you don't have to worry about that. And those cables, because they're made to very high quality, because they can pass data at over 10 gigabytes a second, they're more expensive. So, Mary, go ahead with your question.
Yeah, do you need to have the little block to charge the phones? Or, I mean, what does that do as opposed to just plugging it into a USB? We've got many outlets and,
So those are all blocks.
The surge protectors and stuff, in essence, they're blocks. Okay, got it.
Yeah, so you have a cable and then you have something. And remember, so all of our devices are DC because batteries are DC. And the little charging brick or the power strips that have charging in them convert AC current, which is at your house, that has to convert it to DC. And then that DC goes along the little cable. And that's why you can have a pretty good amount of power on a very thin little cable, is because it's DC, which is low voltage. It's 5 volts. So, you know, the cat chews on it, it's probably not going to do anything except sting their tongue. Whereas AC, if it were AC, it would be a lot more. So
thank you.
that's a transformer is what that is. In the old days, that was the big wall wart you put on the wall, like for your external hard drives and things like that. And they would even heat up. So go ahead, Randy.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. It's becoming more clear. I got the little cable that I got from Anchor, and on the back of it, it does have the little lightning symbol and the number 3.
That's why it's so expensive.
And the number 3. So this little cable should do both data and charging.
Absolutely, and it'll do it. And again, you're only as good as your weakest link. So when you plug that into a power plug somewhere, an adapter, that'll be the part that is the lowest common denominator.
And I got with your recommendation, Ken, the Anchor. It has like 2 pop-up regular.
Yeah,
plugs.
I'm gonna bring that up on the screen right now.
Okay,
so,
excellent. Thank you.
It's a great device. And let's see here. Wow, my web pages are not resolving quick today. Order. And my speed is fine.
Really getting some eclipse glasses.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. All right, so this Anchor device, in fact, today, right after this class, I'm taking a road trip to the Eastern Sierras, and I'm taking it with me for the first time. They make a less powerful one, but this one's very powerful because I can charge my laptop with it. And it's a very interesting device in that it has, boy, everything is just slow today. It has, let's get the right picture up. Wow. Something's up.
Well, I don't know if, I know you're not on Comcast, but Xfinity the last couple of days has been real wonky.
Yeah, this actually is acting like a DNS issue. So you can see this thing. If you'll notice, it has 2 USB-C ports on the left side and 2 USB-A ports on the right side. And then the beauty of it is you can also plug in regular, so I plug that into the wall, and then I can plug 2 more regular AC cables into it. As you go to plug the plug in, those things pop up and come up higher, so it's full depth. You can see in this picture right here, the outlet pops up and gives you full depth, but otherwise it's really slim. So I got this particular one, and it's 15% off if you click the coupon, because this is powerful enough to do my MacBook Pro also, so I don't have to carry anything else. Mm-hmm. They do make another version of this.
It's the 100 water.
Yeah, and like here for $65, it's a 75 watt. So if you're only worried about iPads and maybe occasionally you think your phone, this one works very well too. Actually, I'll go ahead and post both links.
I put one of them in already.
Okay, the big one?
Yeah. Incidentally, I have that too, and I just came back from the trip. Works great. Big thumbs up.
The big one, right?
Yeah.
So when you go to the big one, there's a video that shows what happens is basically if you go right down, actually it's in the reviews. There's a guy that reviewed him I'll see if we can get that link. But if you're going to use a laptop, get the big one. Otherwise, you can use the other one, because this one, while it's charging the laptop, it will still put full power to your other devices. So, and it's Anker brand, which is fantastic. So, all right, let's go to Keynote. And today, as we go along, feel free to ask any questions. You can raise your hand electronically, and people can, the co-hosts will let me know on that. But we're going to talk about iOS 17. But before we do that, I want to remind everybody, Time Machine. You got to have a backup on Time Machine. It's very, very critical, even if you're quote backing up to the cloud. Now, coming up a week from today, at actually right about this time, there is what's called the annular eclipse. And the annular eclipse happens annually, but it's not always in our backyard. This one is, and the nice thing about this eclipse, different than a full eclipse, the moon that you can see in the very center picture here is farther from the Earth, so it doesn't occlude the entire sun. Where when 4 or 5 years ago, when we had the full eclipse, where I went up to eastern Idaho and watched it there, the moon covered the entire sun and went dark because the moon was closer to Earth, which means the moon blocked more of the sun. But in this case, the position of the moon blocks part of the sun, about 90%, and you have what's called the ring of fire around it. So that's the annular eclipse. And then here is the path of the annular eclipse. So let me move something out of the way on my screen. There we go. Okay, so I'm pointing to where I'm going to go watch. I'm going up, it's near Winnemucca, Nevada. I'll show a zoom in of it later. But in Winnemucca, Nevada, it's along this line of the most. So it will actually be 89.17% of the, and it'll look just like this here. Starts at 8, it'll be full at 9:20. So if it was now, a week from now, it would be starting to decline. Unfortunately, so average cloud cover 29%, but when I'm looking at weather, it's looking like it might be overcast. So that would blow all my plans. But also here's Sacramento area, and this black circle, you'll notice you're in the secondary band of this. So if you I actually did Lincoln, but wait a minute, I did Sacramento. I think I pulled up the wrong. Oh, that's too bad. Oh well. It's very close. Lincoln's very close. I did Sacramento, and it was only like a 1% less. And this is what it will look like. It's you'll get it on one side of it, so it will get pretty dark. But around here, it'll start at 8:05 and it'll be maximum at 9:20. And the weather looks like, let's look at weather here for here. And if we go next Saturday, it looks like broken clouds. So there is, Al's put some links in there about it. And this is an interactive website. I'm going to show you how it works. So if I go to the Eclipse website that is linked, you just go to this and then click up here and you get the big version. Click it again, the big version, put that away, move it down. So Ray, yeah, Ray, the only problem with Ray posted something about a surge protector power strip. If you're traveling internationally, you don't want a surge protector because it will blow it'll blow all the time. So I don't recommend surge protected unless you're using it just around your in the US. So when you look at this map here, I can zoom in. I'll zoom in a little more. And if we click on Sacramento, it comes up and shows it will be 80.31% right at downtown Sacramento. And here it is. So this is a great website. Here's where I'm going. I'm actually going to go. I've scouted out this little road right here. And I'm going to go. Most people are going to go up here probably, but I'm going to go right here. And that will be 89.19%. Actually, I kind of went a little off. Yep, that's about as close as you can get. So hopefully it's not overcast. All righty. So next thing is fall colors. This map was updated about 4 days ago. This guy keeps this map. And I'm heading today right to, well, tonight I'm going to do sunset right near Bridgeport here. There's a hot spring right there that does you see a sunset towards the mountains. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be very cloudy. But for the next 3 days, I'll be hanging around this entire area down here, going as far south as Lone Pine, which is the Alabama Hills and the portal to Mount Whitney. But the higher elevations are turning quicker, and they're about 10 days behind what they normally would be. So all the way up, and the green means they haven't changed yet. So then when I go up and do the eclipse, I'm going to come back from the eclipse and I'm going to go to Tahoe because Tahoe will be turning at that point, and I'll do that. But you'll have the same thing around here. Yosemite is usually later in October. It's all based on temperature and elevation. And usually the higher the elevation, the quicker they turn. This was a picture I took a couple of years ago down in the Eastern Sierras. This is North Lake. Oops. This is North Lake. I took this a few years ago, and North Lake is the picture that was used in macOS Sierra. And this is the lake that was shot. And then when they shot it, when Apple did it for their photo, it was the wallpaper for it. There was snow that had just dusted the hills. But North Lake's a wonderful, wonderful lake with color changing. So for right now, macOS Sonoma, I am not recommending. There have not been really any big hiccups, but I always recommend that you wait until it's a 0.1 release. Unlike Ventura and unlike Catalina from years ago, it seems to be very good and very stable. But unless there's a really compelling reason to go to it, I would just stay away from it, just to be safe. And like, for instance, me, when I have time, I've got a bunch of trips coming up. I'm probably not going to upgrade until I'm back from my trips, because there's nothing worse than going on a trip and having something fail beforehand. On the other hand, iOS 17 is not yet a 0.1 release, but I do encourage that. It's very good. And I'm sure everybody heard about, oh my gosh, the new iPhone 15 has the worst battery life of any phone ever. Well, for the most part, they isolate it to a couple apps, one of those being Instagram but they did just recently do an update to it. Keep it updated. I didn't see any problems with it, but you know, it's been addressed. Anytime you have a new OS, it does drain the battery a little more. Part of that is because there's some behind the scenes calculations going on that just happen, and the spotlight's being updated. And so it takes a while to really get it going and get in sync. So excuse me a sec. All right. So we're going to dig in to iOS 17. Oh, let me go back and show you the fall colors. Mono County has, so this one was only, so it's about the same. But here's the key to those, the red versus the orange versus the yellow. So when they say full peak, it means that it's the best, and then it starts to degrade after that. So, and again, the darker, the more the red, and then nothing is in the brown yet. And that's brown, and then the leaves start to fall. So, all right. So iOS 17 has some neat features, but there, you know, there's nothing that functionally is very revolutionary, but they are some very, very nice features. And the nice thing is because they really don't have you know, it's not a lot more you can do to the phone. So just starting out here on the left, there's stickers if you use that. The nice thing is if you take a photo, for instance, you could take a photo of this person if you had that, and you just press and hold, and you can turn that into a sticker. It does a really good job of extracting photos or objects from it and making it stand alone. There's a new thing like this where it says Priya Shah. It's called posters. We'll go into that a bit. And on the right here, like Vivian Chow, is you can make these posters of yourself. And when you call someone, that's what shows up on their phone. No longer is it just a little photo. I'll dig in here now. Here's the phones that are supported. So all the way down to the second generation of the SE and the 10R, which is a pretty old phone. Pretty amazing. Obviously the new 15s are up there, but iOS 17 is compatible with a lot of phones. Certain features won't be supported on older hardware, but the OS itself is supported. All right, so those of you at the general meeting will have seen this already. Oops. Oh, I know what the problem was. Hang on here. Hang on. Demo failure here. All right. So here are all the new features in iOS 17, and we're going to go through every single one of these. So you have to read really fast. And I'll give Al this link here in a second. But there's a lot here. There really is. More accessibility, doing grocery lists in reminders, new fitness. You can do PDFs. You can do fillable PDFs in iOS now. Notes, it's Notes, which is getting better all the time. It's got huge improvements.
All of you have that document already. Went out with the last blast.
Oh, that's right. It was, yeah, because I had brought this up in the other. Thanks, Bob. Yeah, so you do have this document, but it's just a really good way. And what I suggest is you look through and you go, oh, well, that looks like something I might want to investigate. So you can do pets in the People album now. They used to detect dogs, and now they detect dogs and cats. CarPlay, some improvements. Oh, one thing I really like in the camera, there's now a horizon level. So when you're taking a photo and you actually get a little haptic feedback with it. Camera Plus is, I had that all along, but it's really nice to have that on your screen so you know you're taking a photo. Improved speech dictation. What were some of the early ones up here? Because I did start just blowing through them, but oh, live voicemail. We'll talk about that. Let's see. Messages, you can do stickers. You can do different things. A catch-up arrow, so you can kind of get back and forth with people a little quicker. Standby mode, I'm going to talk about. FaceTime, by the way, now you can do a message with FaceTime. So let's go back to the presentation here. All right. So posters. So first of all, you can personalize your home screen on your phone, and there's different layers you can do. You can do all kinds of different stuff, and you can really make it customized. But secondly, you can make your own poster that when you call someone, this is what will show up on their phone. So, you know, it adds a little more life to it, and it shows up full screen on their phone. So it's personalize your phone calls, but it's really just what they call posters. So the next thing is we all get those junk phone calls, and you know, you're compelled to answer them because that's what we're used to. But now you can let it go to voicemail. And when it goes to voicemail, you can read what they're saying. It does live transcription. And that live transcription will show up on your screen. And at that point, you could determine if you want to take the call. And if you do want to take the call, it's almost like remember the old answering machines you had at your house, where you could listen to somebody and then decide to pick up the phone. Well, you don't have to listen to somebody in this case. You just look at the live transcription and then you slide to answer that call. So that's a great feature. And you know, usually the telemarketers don't leave a message, but this way you've got a little more freedom to that. So also, speaking of more or less phone calls, FaceTime allows you to leave a video or an audio message. If you FaceTime someone and they're not available, it will go to voicemail or video mail for them. So that's an option, and that I really think something like that is going to make FaceTime be more widespread. And of course, those of you that travel internationally, you know that it's sometimes costly to do a regular cell phone call. So many people use WhatsApp, but in fact, if the other person has an Apple device, you can do FaceTime, and FaceTime is tied to your Apple ID, and it uses the data side. So you wouldn't be getting charged cell phone minutes. It uses data just like WhatsApp does. But it's nice that you can now leave a message on that. Standby. I love this feature. I absolutely love it. I've always had nightstand for my Apple Watch, and the Apple Watch displays just the time in big letters. Well, standby, if you put your phone horizontal and it's connected to a charger. Now, that can be a wireless charger, and most wireless chargers will allow your phone to go sideways, just like it'll go vertical. And those chargers, whether they be wireless or whether it be through the cable, will display standby mode. Now, if you'll notice, the one in the lower left is the one I use. That is, it has a digital clock on the far left side, and it has the map of where the sun and the light and the dark is throughout the world at that time. But then what happens is, when I turn the lights off in my bedroom, the ambient light sensor in the phone recognizes that, and it turns all these little white dots and everything becomes red, just like a dark room light, you know, and it makes it so it doesn't glare your eyes, it doesn't do anything. But when you're in a dark room, you look over and you can see it, but it is not disturbing you. And you can flip between the screens. You go left to right, and you'll have 3 different types of screens. One could be just a huge digital clock like this. And the nice thing is, if it does go black, there's a setting, just like the Apple Watch in nightstand mode, where if I tap my nightstand, if I just tap it, I don't have to tap the phone or the watch. If I tap the nightstand, it senses that minuscule amount of movement, and it comes on and shows you what the display, it brightens the display. So this is called standby mode, and it's fantastic. But remember, it has to be charging, and it has to be in landscape or horizontal mode. So standby is fantastic. This is an idea here too, in standby, and I've disabled seeing live activities, and because I'll get notifications like it'll say your Tesla is fully charged or your Apple Watch battery is fully charged, and then I can swipe that screen away, but I've told it not to do it because I don't want to have to swipe it away. I want to have it where I just am able to see what it shows. But a nice one here, and these are more for daytime kind of thing, not when you're sleeping. But these live things can come in, like, for instance, the weather. And you'll notice you can use Siri when it's in standby mode. So standby isn't just for at night. Standby works great on a desktop because you can have different things show up on it. Any questions on standby? Has anybody tried it?
How do you activate it?
It's active on its own, and if you just get it in power and turn it sideways, it should come on.
Okay.
I posted some instructions in the chat.
Great. Yeah, Al has start standby.
Sorry. Okay.
A couple of them copied and pasted, and then there's links. So very good. But yeah, it just worked automatically. And I have one of these easel stands that's wireless, and I just put it on it, and it you know, it'll charge the phone at the same time, but it also displays this. So.
Can I have a question, it's Randy? I'm on it right now, but I can't get that sun tracker that you did. I do have sun tracker as an app. Is that what I need? Why I can't?
No. So let me go back. Hang on.
It's not one of my options.
So, okay. So when you get in standby mode, I'm doing it on mine. I have to get it so it's charging. There I go. So if you press and hold, you can swipe through different screens. And then let me think. Oh, and then you go up and down to get different screens.
Right. I only have access on mine to a full month calendar, October, the temperature, and sunny.
So you have the one like the upper left here.
Yeah, I have. Well, Yes, I have that only in a clock, analog clock, different face, but yes, I do have that. But on the
Okay.
right side, I don't have access to that sun
Yeah,
tracker.
let me think how I did it. Oh, press and hold. Wait, hold on.
Oh, okay, okay.
If you press and hold, and then there's the two, well, actually, I'll just do this live. So hang on here. Let me
Widget suggestions, right?
let me see if this displays. Yeah, those are widgets.
Okay, let me get that.
Oh,
I need to turn that on. Now it's on. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, let me see if I can use reflector for this. Trying to get my reflector app to come up. Not firing up. What's going on here? Wait it. I tested it the other day. And the problem is I now have my USB-C cable in my car. Let me try this. I'm going to stop share. I'm going to try share my iPhone via AirPlay. Oh, now Reflector 4 fired up for some gosh reason. Okay, hang on here. Are you guys aren't seeing my phone, are you?
No.
Yeah, hang on here. I gotta get out of this. Let's go here, screen sharing. Sorry for the delay on this.
Ken, do you know the name of that app or that I could put in as a widget that does show that tracking, the solar sun tracking or moon?
No, that's not a widget, I don't think.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's the weather app because it shows the people. Hang on, now I got to get back to Zoom and share my screen. Stop share. Now we're going to share my desktop. Share. Okay, you can see that screen. And you see my phone now?
Yes.
Okay. So let's see if it'll go into, I would be willing to bet it won't go into. No, it's not going to go into that mode when I'm sharing the screen with this.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we won't, so basically you, wait a minute, it's doing it now. Let's try it again. It looks like it might. Um, Come on. See if it goes in here. It did it a minute ago. I don't think it will. All right, we're gonna punt. Okay, so when you're in standby mode, so let's see, it should go into standby mode for me now. Mirroring's off. You press and hold the screen and you get some options. And then in those options, you should just go, and then swiping left and right and up and down. So I'll look into this a little bit later, but I think the directions that Al posted should help you out. So you guys are seeing my screen, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Your
So,
computer-
go ahead.
Your
What?
computer screen.
Right. Yeah, the phone, and now my phone isn't even in standby again. So anyway, the widgets, and then if you have the 15 Pro, the dynamic island, the big black thing at the top is interactive. In other words, if you have an Uber ride coming, it'll show up there and it'll say the driver's so far away and things like that. But now you can go into widgets and interact with them and do different things. So it's pretty amazing what widgets have done. Widgets can live on your home screen, or if you, from your home screen, if you swipe from left to right, you get into all your widgets and you can add your widgets and adjust them and do whatever you want with that. So get with that. Now, this to me, I think, is one of the nicest features in iOS 17. So if they have an iPhone or a watch, Apple Watch, you can share contacts very easily with someone else. There's a little video here that just shows that. I'll do that again. So you get your phone close to the other person, and what'll happen here is what happens is the other person's poster and name shows up on your phone, and you can say, oh, I want to share that phone. I want to share my contact. I want to share my contact, or I just want to receive only.
So both phones have to be running iOS 17. Is that correct?
Correct. Otherwise, you just airdrop them. This is just an airdrop on steroids, more or less. Okay, so we'll play that one more time. And then you hit receive only or share, and then it's added to your contacts. And it shows right there, so then you can look at it and adjust it. Now, this brings up another thing. You can adjust what you share in contacts. And once I get done with this slide presentation, we'll go into that, because I'm going to have to get the cable to show my phone is what it amounts to. And I'm trying to think where I have another USB-C.
So Ken, does that mean you can select one or more specific contacts?
No, it's one-to-one. It's one and one. Then you'd have to do it with another person. you can share contacts from your phone already using share, and we'll go into that. So at the end of
Okay.
the slide presentation, remind me, and I'll probably fire up the contacts app too to show. So the other thing is AirDrop. So if you haven't used this, and by the way, there's this new feature of AirDrop is going to be later this year. But when you're sending photos to someone or a video, AirDrop is phone to phone or phone to computer or computer to computer or iPad. So it's a mix of all of those devices. AirDrop is a way that does it, and it doesn't go over the internet, except you have to be near the other person. So what'll happen is if you start a transfer, let's say you have 20 pictures you're trying to get to somebody, but and you always got to stand around there waiting for it to do it. Well, what'll happen now is later this year in a software update, they'll make it so it will complete that over the internet so that you're not having to stick around. So that just enhances AirDrop, and AirDrop is great. There's a time limit thing on AirDrop because of security, where you have to make sure that the person's in your contacts, or you have to activate everyone, and that only lasts for 10 minutes. So SharePlay, kind of this whole AirPlay, SharePlay type of stuff, you can share what you're playing with someone else that's nearby. So in this case, this person's listening to this part first, and then they're sharing it. They send it to, well, they can send the link, but they can share play it, and the other person can play it also. But this only works in close proximity. It's not like you can permanently share the music. You're sharing because of digital rights management. You're sharing what is playing on the person's phone, and then it can go to the other person's phone. Ultimately, you could probably have a phone in one room and then one in the other, and they would play both and kind of be a quasi stereo. So it's pretty neat. I'm looking forward to this journal because it'll be later this year that journal comes up. There's other apps out there that do this, but Apple has a great way of curating your photos. So the beauty of the journal app is it will try to, like in this case, it was a morning visit to Ocean Beach. And it just kind of said, okay, these are the photos you might want to do. Then here was in the afternoon, the day before, was this picture out, not at the beach, and they walked so many steps. And it uses artificial intelligence to kind of formulate what it thinks you might want for that daily thing. So if you're traveling, obviously you see there's a little map there, and then, on the way to the beach and the shell from the beach and all that. So the way Apple Photos curates that stuff, I'm really looking forward to this. And for me, it's going to be a way to do my photos. And I would be willing to bet there's going to be a really good share feature on here, very much like a shared album, where you can share this with other people without having to email it or text it to people. So, but other than that, the beauty of the journal is it is completely safe. No one else can access your journal unless you share your journal, or see with your journal, you could share just one particular thing, but it is locked down. Only with your biometrics can someone get in, which would be you, and work on your journal and see your journal. So it has that security built in. So no one can just pick up your phone and start poking around and find that information. Really looking forward. It'll be later this year and it'll be a software update. Actually, something hasn't been mentioned on keyboard a long time. A friend of mine who just went over, she finally got an iPhone over from Android, and she uses the swipe keyboard a lot. Built into our keyboard is the swipe, where you start moving your finger to different letters, dragging it across the keyboard. That's been available for quite a while, and it's built in now. It used to be a separate keyboard, and so setting up that phone for that person reminded me of this. But the nice thing is the autocorrect now is going to do, it's going to be much better at predicting. And those of you that have been on iOS 17, I think you've been pretty surprised when it comes up with the next word or two, and it's most of the time what you want. And as you see on the right here, it says, tap the space bar to finish words, or, and it's predicting that you might say entire sentences. And it's using the artificial intelligence of you and a whole bunch of other people and saying, well, that might be what they're going to type next. And you don't have to accept it, but you simply hit the space bar if you want to accept it. So I'm also going to tell you how to defeat autocorrect, because many people get frustrated with autocorrect because you're trying to put a word in and it changes it to a different word or something you don't want. So let's say there's a restaurant called Speel, S-P-E-E-L. Well, autocorrect will try to correct that to spell, because spell is a word. S-P-E-L-L rather than S-P-E-E-L. But the way to make autocorrect not correct would be, you would type in, and this works on your Mac, it works on your iPhone, everywhere you have it. If you wanted to type Speel, you would type in S-P-E-E-L, and then any other letter. It could even be an L since you're already there. You tap any other letter, and then you use the backspace arrow. In other words, you type that extra character, and then you delete that extra character, and now it will not turn Speel into spell. So I'll go over that again. When you type S-P-E-E-L, it will try to turn it into spell. But if I type S-P-E-E-L and then some other letter, and then backspace, the little back arrow, like you were going to delete something, back delete, it deletes the extra character you just put in, and it will no longer try to turn Speel into spell. So that's how you defeat autocorrect. And that's not just an iOS 17. That's been around for quite a while. Any questions on that? I want to make sure everybody gets it, because I know how frustrating it is when you really want to type something and it's not what it is. Many times, if it's a name that's in your contacts and it's a proper name, it will do that. So obviously, if the word Speel was in your contacts, like Speel Restaurant or something like that, it would probably not autocorrect Speel. Any questions? Okay, so get used to the new thing where it starts predicting what you want to put down below, and it's pretty good. So the new thing in Safari, and this will also be in Sonoma, is profiles. So a profile, and let's just put this into the real world thing. So I have, like today, I'm leaving for the Eastern Sierras. So I've been doing a lot of research on the different places. I know them pretty well, but I've got hotels that I looked at and booked and things like that. And then I've got the Eclipse trip coming up a week from now. And then I have my Antarctica trip, and then I have my Japan trip. So all of those currently are commingled in my Safari. So if I start looking for directions to, it's either going to give directions to Japan or to the Eastern Sierra or something like that. If you create a profile, almost think of it like another user. I could have one profile that was all my Eastern Sierra stuff. And so what I do is when I go in and I would create, and that would be a temporary profile. I wouldn't need to keep that one after I get back from the Eastern Sierras. But I would go in and create a new profile in Safari, and I would call it Eastern Sierras. And then when I'm in that profile, I'm only going to have the tabs and the history of what I'm doing in that profile. In other words, you know how it is. Like I pull up the word eclipse because I've been researching out. A lot of my eclipse things come up. Well, if I'm in the profile that's not on the eclipse, those won't show up in my profile. So profile allows you to have different things going on, and it remembers the histories and things like that. So I encourage you to play with profiles and look at it. And what you do is you go simply into the down here at the bottom of the screen, you tap the little library. It looks like those look like books on a shelf. And then you come up with this one here, and you say no profile, and you can add profiles in there. And then it's done. And then you'll see that when you click down here, now that you have this thing with the what is that? The mortarboard on it, you tap that and you would be able to go to different profiles. And again, like I said, that's coming to Sonoma also. All right. We've had this for a while on the Mac and in iOS, that when you're filling out a thing and you're doing two-factor authentication, you'll get, when it comes to you by text, it automatically fills in that usually 6-digit code for you when you're trying to do that. The new thing is it will now do it in mail. It will know that mail came in. It looks like it's a verification, and it will autofill the 6-digit code from mail also. That's really, really, really good. Another thing is the new you can now, because we use iCloud Keychain, you can share passwords and the newest thing called passkeys. You can determine to share that stuff with contacts you choose. Nothing happens automatically. You can choose to do it. Ellie, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, just to go back to this autofill verification, how does that work exactly? I'm on my Bank of America, login, and how would that be filled in?
So have you not noticed it working yet?
I'm not in iOS 7.
No, I don't mean right now.
Oh.
So it's been doing it via messages. So in other words, when they say, we're going to send you a text message, and ironically, it doesn't work with Apple's two-factor at this point, but you have to fill those in automatically. But what happens is previously, if you got a text message that had a verification code, you wait a second. And when you also have to make sure messages, because those come as a green text, so you have to make sure that you can do green text on your messages on your Mac or and obviously on your iOS device. And that's how it finds it in messages. Now it will find it in mail.
Okay, I have not used green text. So I'm
Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. Actually, let me make a note here. When I get my phone hooked up here, I'm going to show you what we have to do to initiate that. So let's see.
Yes, because I'll tell
What
you
was
what's
the other thing
happened.
I was going to do when I got my phone hooked up? Well, it'll come to me. So when I get out of the presentation, I'll go ahead and do that. Barbara, go ahead with your question.
So if you have multiple email accounts, which email does it send it to?
Actually, if you're using Apple Mail,
Mhm.
I believe I haven't. I think I used it one time, but yeah, I mean, mine comes into a Gmail account, and I think it worked. I think it just actually, it's basically, and this is all done inside your device. It doesn't go back to Apple. It's very safe, very secure, but it's looking for certain keys, something like the word verification code or something like that, and
Okay,
it just autofills it.
got it. Thanks.
Yeah. So it's pretty easy for it to quote read your email, because it reads it anyway, because when you go to search for certain words, they're going to show up. So, but again, that stuff is all stored only on your device. So, all right. It's just what a time saver that is. It's really, really nice. So Share Play, we talked about a little bit earlier. If you have CarPlay, someone in the back seat, for instance, if you allow it, can share from their iPhone to your CarPlay rather than just having it be the one that's directly connected to CarPlay. So that's another version of SharePlay, like we showed earlier, where you can share it to other people. Then the other thing is, and this is coming later this year, is collaborate on playlists. In other words, if you have a playlist you like, you could invite people to collaborate, and they could add songs that they might think goes with that playlist and do that. I don't know how functional this really is for most people, but it is kind of neat. And then that collaborated playlist would work together. It's just like collaborating on a document. And again, that's one of the features coming later this year. I just did this because I'm going to be in some areas that are really bad cell signal. So it's been available in Google Maps for a long time. It is now available in Apple Maps. You can download the map and of certain areas, and you set the area. Ironically, that's just to the left of where I'm going to be. And that map is stored on your device. And if you're completely out of cell phone range, you still get a GPS signal, and it will do directions for you. And when it downloads the map, it also downloads points of interest. So if let's say when I'm flying somewhere, if I know when I'm getting near a country, I will download the map of that area ahead of time so I can kind of see where the flight is and things like that. Or for instance, I was on a river cruise recently and I wasn't sure if I'd have connection along the way. So I went on Google Maps, this was before Apple had updated it, and I download sections along there so that I can always see where I am. And it works for doing your turn-by-turn directions and things like that. So I encourage you to check it out. It's really a good benefit. It does take up room on your device, but you'd be surprised. It doesn't take up that much room. And when you're done with it, you can delete it. I know on Google Maps, it will delete it after a certain amount of time. So both of them do this. I like Apple's implementation of it. The other thing is for certain cars, certain electric cars, there will be real-time charging station availability along your route. It's baby steps now. They don't have all of them. Tesla's network is not on there. But if you have an electric car, I recommend using this one. A better route planner is my go-to. It's fantastic. So for instance, here's my trip out to Winnemucca, and it charts it and tells me where I need to charge and for how long. It doesn't do just Tesla. A better route planner is now owned by Rivian, and I've been a paid subscriber for quite a while on it. It's a great feature, but you can put in any electric car you want, and it will calculate where and what it knows what charging stations you can use and how you can do that. If I go here to this is my one for later today. Theoretically, I'm going to leave at 1. I hope to leave a little earlier. So I calculated my route. I'll go all the way over Highway 50, go down here and go towards Markleeville and Hope Valley and all that, cut down here. I'll backtrack just a little bit to get a little bit of juice, because even though I can make it all the way to my ultimate destination down here, I want to have a little buffer. Plus this place has the best pastrami sandwiches ever. And I've got all my directions. This is where I'm going to see sunset. So leaving at 1, it says, theoretically, I'll pull in at 4:30, which is still almost 2 hours before sunset to where it is. And then this is the hotel I'm staying at for the night, but I'm not charging there. And then I go to Mammoth and I've got to charge there. And so this is a better route planner, and I can determine which way I want to go, the different charging available, etc. So it's this is an incredible. And so I plan these trips on my computer usually, because if I'm doing I've done 5 over 4,000 mile road trips, and I use this to plan them, because that way I can determine where I'm going to overnight on these long trips and where I might want to get lunch, etc. But they do have an app, and the app works just like that. And if you sign up for a free account, when you put this in, it remembers your car and it remembers what this last trip is. So if I pulled this up on the app on my phone, it would have this route in there, and you can save the plan. So if it's a route you do periodically, boom. But when I get in the car, I usually just use the nav for the car. I use this for planning. It's all about route planning. Any questions on that stuff?
There's not a subscription portion to that, is there?
There is. Originally, it was a donation, and now there's a monthly. So it's very reasonable. And for me, I did the donation because this was so valuable to me that I just support them. But the free version, so with the paid version, I can actually see how many people are at each of the charging locations. And that
Nice.
I really like, because my car does that too, but it really helps. Roy, you've got a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, the brown is the Tesla charging stations. On the other map, and maybe this one shows a little bit, there were green T's, smaller. What are those?
Let me go back to that. So the brown ones are the ones I'm using. The green are Tesla superchargers, and these other ones are like Electrify America.
Okay, but the green ones are the same as the brown. It's just that you pick.
And actually, if we go back, so this is in Pollock Pines. It's a charge point, and it shows you what it's got. All I can say is those of you that have electric cars are going to be very happy now that you can that Tesla is opening up their charging network to everybody, because it's absolutely the best. It works They have a 99.5% uptime. So, and actually, so if I click on this one, so these are waypoints when they're this brick color. See this? This isn't charging. This is a waypoint right down here. That's right out of Bridgeport, and that's where that hot springs that I'm going to take the sunset picture from.
And I didn't understand the word. That's a what point?
It's a waypoint.
Waypoint. Okay. The other.
So if you look over here, when I did this calculation, I knew I can do multiple waypoints. I'm leaving from Lincoln. I knew I'd wanted to go to this charger. So even though I can almost make it, I just want to get a little, I'm going to spend 12 minutes there. And then I go down, and this is a waypoint without a charger. And then this would be my first charger down here at Mammoth Mountain.
And where is that great pastrami sandwich?
Oh, they call it Gardnerville.
Okay.
But it's by Topaz Lake there.
Okay.
And it's a slower charger, a 150, but Topaz Lake and the Chevron station right there has the cleanest restrooms anywhere. But that's where that's a great little cafe, Lakeview Cafe on the it was a casino right there. And it's a teeny little casino because it's right at the state line. So, all right, back to the keynote. So, and again, this is the one I'm doing to go to Winnemucca. And there's other charging places along the way, but I won't need it. So the other thing is, and now I'm not going to say the word SIRI because it'll make everybody's stuff go off. So I'm going to say Shlomo instead of the word SIRI. Previous to iOS 17, you used to have to say the word hey and the word Shlomo together, hey Shlomo, and it would activate it. Now, if you want to, you can go into Shlomo in settings and just say the word Shlomo instead of hey Shlomo, and it'll come on. Frankly, I didn't do it because it comes on inadvertently anyway. So but you do have that option in your settings now to do instead of saying hey Shlomo, just Shlomo. One neat thing that they've added that SoundHound used to do, once you have gosh, I didn't finish that. Once you have Shlomo activated, you can continue to ask other things. It can be related. So you could say, Shlomo, text Emma, I'm on the way. And then a whole different one is, remind me to water the plants when I get home, because it stays active for a little while. But one thing you can do is, if you said, give me, it's not additive though. You can't say, give me all the hotels in, give me hotels on October 14th in Winnemucca, Nevada, which I know there are none, by the way. Winnemucca, Nevada. And then you could say, like with SoundHound, you can say, that have a swimming pool or that are below $250. We'll be getting that with Siri soon. Google has just rolled out with their OK Google. They're using Bard, which is artificial intelligence, which allows you to further refine your results. But once Shlomo is up, you can ask it other things because it stays active on your screen with that little kind of like that you see here to the left, this little icon for Shlomo. So, and Shlomo's gotten a lot better than it used to be. It really is. I've had trouble with the watch lately, which is really strange, but the watch used to be, actually, it did better on my watch than it did on my phone for quite a while. So, artificial intelligence is a wonderful thing. So, here's a picture of this bowl of quinoa with Brussels sprouts and avocados. And you can ask it to go get a recipe of that. Now, I know there's an app out there that's been on the phone for a long time that will also try to give you the nutritional information of the bowl that it is. But it's not just for recipes, but the whole idea is, and this has been done on Google for a long time, but you could take a picture of a leaf in Google Lens, it's called, in regular Google search, and you use the camera, or even a picture of the entire tree, and it will come back and tell you what tree it is. Of course, sorry guys, artificial intelligence in the phone it's getting to the point where it can do that. I don't know if you're aware, but every photo you take with your phone, or every photo that's put into your Mac, is analyzed within that device. It doesn't go out and go over the internet. But like, for instance, I can go into my photos and say, in fact, I'll do it here. Let's just say, I'm going to launch photos, and I'm going to go to search, and I'm going to say cars. So I have way too many pictures of cars, and I have not curated any of these. Well, here's a weird one. I don't know why that bird is a picture of a car. But and you guys are seeing this, right? Somebody had a.
Yes.
So it goes through and it says, wow, it's a car. And I just did search. I have not told it it's cars. There's my mom's old car. Yosemite, here's at the bottom of this photo. It saw this car down here. So even the little car in the picture here of a pretty incredible race car. So you could also do food. So here's all my pictures of food. I guess these flowers must be edible. Oh, this is a great thing. This is in Ecuador. This reminded me of the COVID virus, the way it looked around the perimeter. But this was on a tree outside this native village in the Amazon. And I asked the guy, well, what are those? I asked the guide, what are those things out on that tree out there? And so he brought him in and he cut them in half. And these look a little bit like the seeds in pomegranate. But he said, oh, well, these have these seeds in there. And he shows it to me. And he says, what we do is we take a little bit of a palm thread and we make it a paintbrush and we paint our faces with it for ceremonies, not for war, but for ceremonies. And they squished it. So he squished the berries up and did it. And he says, do you want me to do it on you? And I said, well, sure. So he puts it on and I've got these red stripes on my face. And he goes, and it lasts for 30 days. And he was totally kidding because it didn't last for 30 days, but he got me on that one. So we could do, let's try, I probably have a lot. Well, I have a bunch of pictures of waterfalls. Oh, that's great. It makes the Yosemite one, it showed up. So here's a whole bunch of waterfalls. It picked out waterfalls. So.
And can you Siri to do that or just fill in the dialogue?
Well, you used to be able to on the phone. I'm going to try. Well, let's see. Let me try here. Show me my pictures of food. No, I used to be able to do it on the phone, and I used to be able to say, show me my pictures of this and that. Let me try. Show me my photos of cars. No, it just opens photos, and I don't know why, but it used to do that. So no, you just go into search in photos, whether it be on the phone or on the computer. Randy, go ahead with your question.
Yes, thanks. In line with what you're doing, I stumbled across or discovered that just using the Apple phone camera in there, you can take a picture if you're on a hike or something, or I just did it in the office here, and like of a plant or something, and on your camera without leaving your camera, you just go and look at the picture you just took and scroll down to the eye, the information eye in the blue circle down below, hit on it, and it looks up, and it showed me sense of area, and I can look it up, and oh, that's a snake plant. So you don't have to go
And
to
it's
the
already
Google app
in
anymore.
eye. Interesting.
Yeah, no longer need another app. It's all within Apple.
So actually, if you guys want, go on your phone, go to photo. If you're running iOS 17, go to photos and search for flower. And let me see if it works. Yeah, look up Great Bougainvillea I have. Wow, awesome. So it's curating it on all your old photos. In fact, this was a photo I took in 2021. So by the way, you can just swipe up from the bottom to get the information screen. You don't have to hit the eye, but you can do it by hitting the eye. So everybody do that. Go into your photo library and search. Actually, I'm going to search by cars, and let's see if it tells me the type of car. Let's see here. I've got some pretty obscure ones. Now, didn't do a very specialty race car. Let's see if it does. Yeah, that's a little too obscure. But that's cool. Very good. So trees should do it also. So I'll do, because I've used, let's see, tree. I'm going to say see all. I have the tree with all the goats in it, the goats that climb the tree. But let me, oh, wow. There's a tree. It says look up plant. It was pretty generic looking tree. I'm going to look up buildings.
Man, flower pots came up. I didn't know I had so many flower pots, about 600 of them.
Oh, let's do a windmill. No, didn't do the windmill. But I'm looking for, gosh, I was just in Budapest and I'm wondering if it'll define a certain building that's very, oh, come on. You guys hopefully are searching away with flowers and stuff. It's a very good
Lord.
tip, Randy. Good job.
I found out I'm almost as bad with cars as you, number wise.
Holy moly. When you take a lot of pictures, you have a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
So you go
But
to
it's-
flowers and then you see pick a flower and then what?
well, when you pick a flower, if you're holding your phone vertical, swipe up from the picture or hit the little eye at the bottom, and it should tell you what kind of flower it is.
The picture.
Hmm.
The picture of the flower.
Okay. Well, it's not telling me.
Oh, so here we go. So when I went to the Hungarian Parliament building, I have a picture of it. When I went to information, it says look up landmark. Oh, but I bet it's using also my location. But I tap landmark, and sure enough, it comes up with Siri knowledge of the Hungarian Parliament building, and then information about it, and then other web images of it.
Astounding.
That's interesting. I'm
Astounding.
going to go back to cars and see if I can get a certain car.
And Roy has a question.
Okay, one
Yeah,
second.
that thing where you take a picture of a flower and it tells you the flower, is that in the latest version? Because I just took it of an anthurium and it didn't say anything about what kind of flower it was.
Are you on iOS 17?
No. So is that
Yeah.
only a 17 thing?
Yeah, that's because that's where it kind of came up. It's this, and if you don't have iOS 17, you can do it on you can do it in Google search using the Google app, but this just upgrade to 17, and this was following up with the thing that's on the screen here.
Okay.
I'm on
Well-
17 and I don't get it.
And have you?
The flower
Right.
thing has been available for a while, before 17.
I'm sorry.
The little I information.
Oh, for information, yes, but it didn't define what the thing was.
Yes, it did, before 17.
It would show you what flower it was?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's great.
Yes, that's true.
Oh, mine doesn't. It gives location, but not the type of flower.
Yeah, I think you got to play with it, and it's probably, and it'll improve too, because with artificial intelligence, the more data it gets, the better it does. Okay. So, Mary, go ahead.
Yeah, mine, when I say like show pictures of, I've been used my daughter's name and it showed pictures from the web. It isn't showing from my library. What am I doing wrong?
Are you in
Drop the
photos?
word show.
Pardon?
Yeah. Are you
Don't
in
say show.
photos?
What do I say?
Mary,
Well, I
are you
would
in
say-
photos?
I found out if I say the
anything.
word show when I'm in if I say show trees, I don't get anything. If I just
Mary,
say
you have to-
trees, I get hundreds.
And
Okay.
you have to, and you type it in, but are you in photos, Mary?
I'm in photos. I'm in my library.
And then hit the search button.
Oh, okay.
And
A
tap the
little magnifying
microphone.
glass.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Tap
Yeah.
the microphone so it can hear you.
Katie.
And then you should have, the other thing is you go into the people and then you can add her, and then it looks for other photos too. So,
Terrific. We'll give it a try.
so, Apple is all about health. And with that, now they're doing a little bit more on mental health, vision health features, powerful insights, different things like that. So this is in there. You can explore it. I know one thing with the new OS it wants to make sure that your device is not too close to your eyes. It can warn you if you're too close and trying to look at it. So I think most of us know that as we get older, we're having to put stuff farther away, but it's just one of those things. But it does kind of, obviously it doesn't replace a doctor, but they're going to let you do some different things. And again, all your health information is just for you. And as we talk about privacy and security, nobody respects your privacy and your security more than Apple. And it's a huge deal. But now, so if you get somebody sends you an image that may be a little bit risque, let's say, then you have the ability to have it more or less filter it for you and decide not to show it. And there's also sensitive content warning. So these are in there. I really haven't played with it much. I don't know, but they're looking out for you. And it may require that if you're, I don't know where it draws the line. I think you guys can read up on it yourself and see, but I think it's kind of interesting, especially, none of us have young kids in the house, but we might have grandkids in the house. So just something to think about. Improved permissions. That was the other thing I was going to show you, is on sharing. On sharing contacts. I've got that on my list. So that means when you share your information, it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to share this or whatever? The other thing is that they have is lockdown mode. Lockdown mode is something that will keep you from cyber attacks. And they're also working on a thing where when you come across, like with Homeland Security, and you come to an airport, the ability to make it so your phone can't be unlocked. They're working on that, but I don't think most people need to worry about lockdown mode. But if you're paranoid about it, usually unrightly so, you do have that ability. Accessibility. Now, I've listed a few here. These are not just accessibility. This is more items in iOS 17. The skills for the live speech we talked about, point and speak. For if you're sight impaired, there are a lot of new features. Reminders. The nice thing in reminders, and I think reminders is a great thing. Reminders will automatically sort the items in your grocery list. For instance, if you put in tomatoes and then you say chocolate milk, and then you put in crab, and then you put in bell peppers, what it will do is it will put the vegetables together in the vegetable because it knows what you're typing. And I think that's pretty helpful. So the emojis, you can use pictures of yourself. You can make more emojis. It's been a little easier. Notes, the beautiful thing in Notes here now is on the iOS device, you can do what you can do in Preview on the Mac. You can now mark up PDFs, which means you can write on them, you can draw pictures on them, you can do whatever you want. And that's pretty cool. Plus, you can add live links into it too. So, which is great. We talked a little bit about PDFs. It mentions there. That's coming later this year. Now, that's in PDFs in iOS, not to be confused with using PDFs in Notes. So we will have a standalone PDF application similar to Preview in iOS 17. Fitness has some new features in it. Find My, the nice thing now is you can share AirTags. Let's say you travel with someone you can have both you and them can be tracking one of your AirTags and vice versa. So multiple people can be tracking a single AirTag. Barbara first, and then Randy. Barbara?
I wanted to ask you back under accessibility. Some time ago, you mentioned Listen Live, that, you know, if you get the hearing aids that are compatible with it, that function is available. Have there been any changes or updates to how that works? And is it any more available than it used to be? Do you know?
Well, availability of MFI has to do with the hearing aid manufacturers and providers.
Right.
And they do pay a small licensing fee to Apple to be MFI and allow it to do live listen. And more and more are on board with that. So that's going to be it. But they're constantly expanding their accessibility, and they don't talk about it a lot. But I haven't noticed anything in the way of in the hearing aid part of it, but a lot in the sight thing, like here using live speech to communicate and then point and speak. So in other words, they can point at something. And so let's talk about this a second. And this is, I'm glad you asked. It's different than the hearing aid, but just like our phone can show us what that flower is, it can also speak that. And that becomes really important for the sight impaired people. And so more and more stuff is going along there, and artificial intelligence will help that dramatically. Think about walking down a sidewalk and having it say, that's a Taco Bell on the left, or straight ahead is a florist shop, or things like that. And the ability to navigate, we're getting so close to having that be something like that. But the hearing impaired, really, it's just to make sure. And the hearing aid market has changed dramatically because you no longer have to have an audiologist. So there's all these ones on TV now saying they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. So, but be careful. I always recommend, I do it every year. I get a hearing test from Costco. They do those for free. And then they have a good selection of hearing aids at a good price. But there's other ones out there, but I would, you're tying one hand behind your back if you don't get one that is MFI, which stands for Made for iPhone. Randy, go right ahead.
Yeah, regarding the markup and the autofill, I tried to fill out a form just this week. I hit the autofill. It was a PDF form, and I could type in, but the type was going actually vertical, not horizontal against the line. I think it was the way that the form was built by, the company that sent it to me via email, but it just seemed odd. It was working, but
did you try laying down?
I did try to tilt the screen, yes, but nothing.
So, yeah, and it could be one or the other. I've noticed it's tough even on preview, but the only thing I could say is it makes that text box, and you might be able to expand the text box horizontally. And then it could do that. I don't know. And then you can get back to us too and find out if another one, if it works. I mean, it's hard to tell. It's kind of how the PDF should be generic and that fill. And autofill doesn't always work. And a lot of times that has to do with what program created the PDF. So, and I haven't experienced that, so I couldn't tell you. So that was the shared AirTags, which is really, really neat. So, you can share it with one or many people if you want to share a certain thing. We did talk just briefly about fitness. There's the meditation and other things in there now too, that's in the health. home is improving all the time. There's not a lot in here, and more devices are using our HomeKit compatible. So Apple News, they now have a crossword puzzle in there. That's the news about news. The People album in Photos has improved quite a bit, and before it used to recognize dogs only, and now it does cats also. Apple ID, the ability to sign in using a nearby device, is a little different. I haven't explored that yet. And to be honest, I haven't used Freeform much, but they've improved Freeform. I just am not creative in that regard. Also, there's a new OS for iPad OS, is also 17. And it's got many of the same features with the exception of the calling features, although FaceTime and things like that, but any of the new phone stuff won't happen on an iPad.
Yeah.
Go ahead, question? No? Okay. So this is, we had the Apple event on the 12th of last month. They introduced the iPhone 15. There are some deals with the carriers now. The regular iPhone 15 has two cameras, and the Pro has 3 cameras. And I'll be testing it out starting tonight. The Max version, the bigger version of the 15 Pro, has a 5x zoom, which is quite a bit. It's the equivalent on an old 35mm camera of 120 millimeters. So now I'm going to try share my phone, and I'm going to show you the couple things that we needed to get back to. So let me see if I can do it with Reflector.
And do you know what the wait time is now to get an iPhone Pro Max?
I would say it probably is determined on color, but I don't know if there is a wait time.
Oh, okay.
The easiest thing to do is go to Apple.
I've heard several
and,
people say November.
Okay.
Mhm.
So and you guys can see my phone, is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, the Pro Max was, and even the regular Pro was, a greater response than Apple anticipated. And so I think the 15s are in stock, but not the Pros. So best thing to do is just keep an eye on that, and you know, it should improve, but it was a pretty big rollout. So the first thing I want to go into is, what do we want to share when we share contacts? So if I go to contacts on my phone and I tap the middle, there's the My Card at the top. And I should point out now too, and this has been for a while, just like on the Mac, you can now have it update and check your duplicates for you. So I'm not going to do that because I did a contacts presentation, and I have one in there that's why it's a duplicate. So this is where you can do your poster and things like that. But when I come down here and I say share contact, when I go to share the contact, I can turn on and turn off what I want to show. Maybe my address, maybe the notes, whatever I want to do. And then I would share that, and then I can hit share by AirDrop, etc. Now let's go back and see if that stuck. See, it doesn't necessarily stick. So it's each time you share it. But I think, let me check. We go into settings and go to contacts, and we go to my info, no, sorry. Settings, there we go. Cancel. Oh, that's weird. So it's not in here. And by the way, you should always make sure you have a My Card that's you. That's the My Info. So it's done when you go to share it. So if you're going to go into your address book and at the very top is your My Card. Let me look here really quick and see. No. So when you click share at the very bottom and you select what you want to share, you can do it here when you're sharing that. And you can share by AirDrop, etc. So I'm going to give a little tip to Tesla owners here. First of all, if you should make sure your calendar is synced to your car. That's your setting in the Tesla app. But if I want to do directions and have it show up in my GPS in my car, if I go to contacts and I go to, let's say, I should have an address for him. So when I pull up this address, I can't share it directly from the app, it fails. But if I tap right there, I get Apple Maps or Google Maps, it doesn't really matter. But when I hit share, the little thing, if I tap that Tesla right there, it now sent that address to my car. So in Apple Maps, it's the little share thing, the little box, and then Tesla, or in Google Maps, if I go to a location, let's just click on anything. There, the golf club. And I go here and I go over to share. The Tesla app shows up. And if the Tesla app doesn't show up, go over to more and add it. And that way it sends it right to the car. Boom. There, said it shared with Wow is my car name. So that's really cool. But also, whenever I do appointments now in my calendar, I'll put a location in there because that location automatically shows up in your nav system when you sync your calendar, which also, I believe that applies to CarPlay also. So we had the information earlier about not getting the green texts on our other devices.
Right.
So we're going to go into settings on our phone, and everybody, you should all do this if you want to make sure on your iPad. And so on your phone, I'm going to show you the settings we have to have, but your phone should be getting green text. And when I say a green text, I mean like, let's see here. Peak design. Well, it didn't show green on that. So no, that's all. Let me find an Android person. See, I don't have any Android friends. It's a good thing. Randy's. So my friend Randy, it's green because he's on an Android. And that works on the phone. But let's go to settings on our phone. And come on down to messages. We're going to start at the top and go all the way down to messages. And I want everybody to have these settings correct. So tap messages. And first and foremost, iMessage should be on. That's Apple device to Apple device, which is the blue texts. Make sure that's on. Now, Anybody got a problem with that? Everybody is there anybody not there? Settings, messages, and messages about 25 down on there. So the next thing says send and receive. I'm going to tap on that. Now, the upper section, the receive iMessages, all of them can be checked as long as there's only one phone number. If there's more than one phone number, only make it be your phone's phone number. Sometimes people have extra things tied to their Apple ID. But the rest of the ones, it's no problem having the rest of these email addresses selected. Okay? Don't worry about that. Now, the next one down, the only thing that should be selected is your phone number. And that means when you start a new text, it's going to start from your phone number. Okay? So again, the upper section, you can have them all checked. If there's more than one phone number, only have the real phone number checked. Any questions on that screen?
Yeah. Ken,
Roy has a question.
Okay. Who?
Roy.
Go ahead, Roy, and then I think it was Barbara.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Above the iMessage, there's focus. Yours is not clicked, mine is. What should it be? And what is focus?
Focus is the new it's the new do not disturb.
Oh, okay.
So in other words, and you'll find this on every app, that has to do with notifications and all that. So that has nothing to do with sending and receiving. It has to do with whether you're going to see the message or not.
So if I get a phone call, sometimes I don't get it. That's because focus is clicked.
Well,
I don't hear it ring, but it goes to voicemail.
Well, it could be the slider switch on the side also.
No, I purposely had that off so that it was all black. So it could be the focus thing, maybe.
Okay. That could be, but that would be on phone, not on text.
Right, right.
Okay. So Barbara, what was your question?
So my question is, I had all the things checked the way you said they should be checked, but sometimes I will send a text to someone and I'll get a message back that says, who is this? And other times people see my name and I've talked to my cell phone carrier and they can't come up with any reason that it would be, you know.
And you're sending it with your phone number.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sending it on my phone.
Well,
I'm sending a text
that has
message.
to do with their address book isn't up to date. So
The recipient.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've had that happen
So, I
a
mean,
couple
if you're-
times.
If you're in their address book and your phone, if you're in their contacts and your phone number's there, it will show your name.
Okay, I'll check with them.
So, all right, so let's move on. There's a few more settings here. So go back, hit messages. We're on send and receive. Hit the blue messages in the upper left corner. Now, we want to go down to text message forwarding. If you don't have any other Apple devices logged into iMessage, you won't see this. But under text message forwarding, what you want to do is you have to have any of your other Apple devices have to be green if you'd like to see texts on them, but more particularly, your green texts will repeat. Green texts go over the cellular tower network, the same as a phone call. So you have to, your phone is actually the conduit for it to get to your other devices. Whereas if it's an Apple iMessage, the blue one, it goes over data, whether it be Wi-Fi or the cell tower. But the green texts actually use your phone number, and you have to have this on if you want the green text to show up on messages on your other devices. And this all came about when we were talking about the autofill feature, because when you get the autofill thing, you're never going to get it over an iMessage. You're only going to get it but it's a green text always. Now, questions on that, or does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay. So then farther down, so you can say, I don't have it selected, but most people have selected send read receipts. So in other words, what happens is in iMessage, it'll show that someone read that. If it doesn't have that, it'll just say delivered. That's your option. Definitely make sure that send as SMS is checked, as should the following one, MMS. What that does is, so let's say for some reason iMessage isn't working, it'll send it as a short message service, simple message service. It'll send it anyway. And then MMS is multimedia sending. And so that's like to send a photo to somebody that's on a green one. Character count doesn't matter. And then continuing down, filter unknown senders. Be careful if that's on and someone's not in your address book, you're not going to see the messages. They'll be in a separate list. So only if you're getting a lot of spam text would I worry about that. And that's about it. The other one is you can keep your messages in the cloud if you want. I'm sorry?
Question on
Go ahead.
send as SMS. A question about that. I was educated many years ago that that should always be turned off. So I was wondering what's the logic of turning it on?
Because if for some reason it won't go as an iMessage, you want it to go anyway, and it will go as SMS.
Okay.
And in fact, it will go, and you'll know that it did it because it'll go green.
Hey, but that's exceedingly rare anymore nowadays.
No, well, it's rare, but I've had it happen. And I'll give you an example. You might be in an area where data isn't working, but the cell signal is.
So you
there's no
travel a
negative.
lot.
There's no negative. There's no negative to have it on.
Yeah, but I don't travel. You travel a lot, so it's not a
But
problem.
there's still areas. There's still areas like where I'm going to be, and you know, there's places in California that you'll have no data or not. So there's no negative to have it on. Did they talk about it being a problem?
I don't remember who.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
No, there's no negative that I know of to it being on. And it's weird, and I've seen it happen a few times. And the other thing is, if you're sending to somebody and they don't have iMessage on, they're going to get it as a green one, and you want to send it as a green one.
Yeah. Anyway, I turned it on, so.
And MMS is just the same thing, but it gives it a little bit more different and better files. All right. So go ahead. All right. Anybody?
Yeah, I have a question.
Roy, go ahead. Yeah.
I have one that's called group messaging. I don't see that on your screen. And then further down, you had something I don't have.
Well, group messaging is, I'm surprised. I thought it used to be on here. But you should have group messaging is on, allows you to do group text to multiple people.
Okay. And then there was one further down that I saw in yours that I don't have, but I'd have to see your screen again.
Low quality image mode.
I don't know. I'd have to see your screen again.
Okay. Let's oh, hang on. Why is my, oh, I know what's going on here. Hang on.
The
Which one
raise,
here, Roy?
okay, raise to listen. I don't have that.
That's determinate on your phone, whether you have that.
Oh, there it
raised.
is. I'm sorry. I do see it.
Yeah, some phones don't recognize that. It's
Okay.
older phones.
All right. Thank you.
And that's more if you have an audio message. Let me show you one other thing that you should look at here. Believe it or not, FaceTime has the same, you can be reached at and then send out at. You want this to be the same way. And if there's nothing there, it means you need to sign in to your Apple ID. Ah, look at this. Now in FaceTime, you can do the live captions also. I don't need that. Couple new things on here. So then also go to phone and live voicemail is on by default because I haven't done anything with that. So that's the one where it shows you what people are when they call you. It shows you what's going on. Al,
Where was that?
you want
Ken, where was that?
to go to settings, phone,
Yep.
and then the second grouping down below, live voicemail, it's called.
Is that because I haven't updated to 17 and I don't see it?
If you don't have 17, you're not going to see it.
Okay. Haven't done that yet.
That's why this is on iOS 17. Hey, Al,
Yes, sir.
call my number and we'll see if we get it to work when you can go to my voicemail. So while that's happening, because it takes a minute to go over to voicemail, does anybody else have any other questions while we're doing this? And then hopefully we'll see Al doing live voicemail.
Yeah, it's Ellie, and I want to swing back around to having autofill with the verification, two-factor verification numbers.
Sure. Okay.
And when we I asked because I've been using 1Password for several years successfully, and it's sort of
Voicemail is running.
What?
Voicemail is running. Click
I know, and I don't see it on my screen.
You just got a tape thing in the dynamic box.
Yeah. But it's, oh, there we go.
There it goes.
very cool.
Waiting. It shows that looks like an old tape record.
Yeah, up in the dynamic island.
Yeah.
Cool. I think if my phone was off, it would have looked different, but when I turn my phone off, it turns off the screen sharing. Thanks, Al.
Sorry.
And by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but you get a text with these days with a transcription of your voicemail too, which is really neat.
I apologize for interrupting, but
No, that was perfect. I saw that up there, but I thought it was going to come on the screen, but I had to tap it. But I think it's because we're in a live screen. So,
And
great,
on
that worked.
on the voicemail
Go
thing,
ahead, Ellie.
regardless of the carrier, whether it's Verizon or T-Mobile or anybody, that's
Yeah, because what it's coming in, it's actually the message app that is, quote, reading what it says and saying, oh, this is a verification. And then and it only works if you're using Safari. Or sometimes apps will do it. Most apps will do it too, but it just comes up and essentially puts it on a clipboard for you, and you tap and it fills in automatically.
okay. Well, I keep trying. I've been using 1Password for many years.
Well,
my update,
yeah, and
it doesn't play well with updated Safari and Mac OS anymore. So,
well, but no, it's not going to work with 1Password because it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, but
Yeah.
this is
But I've some,
But you don't have to, but 1Password doesn't fill in those things anyway.
well, it did for a long time, interestingly,
Uh,
but it's recently stopped doing it. That's why we need to switch back to my
you got the latest version of 1Password?
I tried to, but I'm now, as I haven't, I'll try again.
'Cause I'm not having a problem. I've used it for probably 10 years.
Well,
Yeah.
now,
I'm already
Bob,
on
is it
Sonoma. So,
doing autofill of the verification codes also?
It'll pop it up in a little green box, actually, and
Yeah.
you can do
Good.
it. And
yeah, that's really nice.
no, it's very convenient. That's why I'm sort of asking. I've updated my Mac OS recently, and so I need to go update 1Password again, but that problem preceded it. But that helps. It'll work if I fool with it long enough, Bob. That's good.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. All right. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, I have one, Ken. Since
Okay,
you're on
so regarding the
phone,
phone?
so
Yeah.
yeah, since you're on phone, it has to do with, I was expecting, just happened this week earlier, and it was, I was expecting a conference call, and I went to phone settings prior to the dedicated time to expect the call, and I turned off silence unknown callers. However, his call for the conference call went straight to voicemail. I had to, call him back and make sure he was in my contacts and all that stuff. But how do you set your phone to accept all calls, regardless of junk, anybody and everybody?
Wow.
Well, I did turn off silence unknown callers. I switched it from on to off with a green toggle over silence unknown callers.
Which is all you can do.
Oh, okay. Well, then maybe somehow.
So the other thing I would recommend is doing a hard reset of your phone.
Okay.
And a hard reset on every phone, virtually every phone out there now, is you quickly press and release volume up, quickly press and release volume down, and then press and hold the button on the right-hand side. Keep holding the button. And even when the screen comes up, slide to power off. Do not do that. Keep holding it until you see the Apple logo.
Okay.
And that's a hard reset. And that should do it. But the other thing is, sometimes the carrier will intervene there.
Okay.
There were some problems. I think it was like Verizon had a problem last week with that, but I don't know. But yeah, did it finally work, or did you have to call them?
I actually called him, and so we and I actually originated the call. It was from an advisor, and then I tried to get Elaine on with me, my spouse Elaine.
Yeah.
And anyway, it looks like Barbara has a question. Then I will have a question on maps after Barbara asks her question.
Sure, and I'll show how to download maps. Barbara, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm still on settings under the phone, and if you go to the phone and then go to calls, one of the options is Wi-Fi calling. And I know Wi-Fi calling obviously means you use Wi-Fi, but when would you use Wi-Fi, and should you have that set off normally and set it on?
So it's more about when should you not use should you not use Wi-Fi calling? So Wi-Fi calling, what it does is, if you're traveling, or if you're on an area where you have limited cell phone coverage, but you have good Wi-Fi, it will use the internet and make it like an internet phone call, it is still using the Wi-Fi. It's using that to complete the call, and it can seamlessly switch between the two. The only time you don't want to use Wi-Fi calling is if you have a very temperamental internet for instance, if you're on regular old DSL and it's raining out, where your ping times and your data is really slow, or if somebody says the phone is a little choppy, you can turn off Wi-Fi calling, because what happens is when we're talking on a regular cell line, it goes through the tower and it does pretty well. But Wi-Fi calling, it uses all the data travels in what's called packets. And sometimes you get packet loss on Wi-Fi. And so if you're getting choppy calls, you would turn it off, sometimes just temporarily for that call. But normally you would leave Wi-Fi calling on. The advantage is if you're traveling internationally, depending on what your carrier does, they may or may not charge you for Wi-Fi calls. But if you're at a hotel and you're on their Wi-Fi, instead of making a cellular call, you can make it a Wi-Fi call, and you might get it for free or you'll get it for significantly less. And realistically, you usually don't know the difference. Wi-Fi calling works very well because I know in Gold River, many of the homes have the radiant barrier. And so it's really hard for them to get a cell signal, but they have a really good Wi-Fi signal in their house. And so Wi-Fi calling helps, with the exception of if it's a weak internet or even just your Wi-Fi in the house is weak, you may get some blotchiness on the calling. And in that case, you would turn it off. Does that answer that question?
It does. And what about the next one, which is calls on other devices? What does that do, and when would you want it on or not on?
Well, those are the same thing we did earlier for text message forwarding. It's the ability to make and receive calls from your other devices.
Okay.
So, and you don't just receive, but like, for instance, there's a thing in contacts, you can tell it to, from your computer, say, well, make this call on my iPhone, and it does what's called handoff, and it hands them off to your other devices.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Randy, did you have another one?
Yes, it was regarding maps. On the Apple navigation, Apple map, not a better route planner or Waze or anything like that, just using the Apple app map. How do I start? And I should say, I'm asking for a friend, but this is really for me. I don't know how to do this. Go from point A to point B to route a map, but not using my current location. So let's say I just want to go from Reno to Winnemucca. I don't want the map to start from Rockland.
Sure, let's try that, because I don't usually use this, but we're going to say we're going to Winnemucca here.
Okay.
So then what I do is when I tap on, hang on here. When I go to directions like this, I tap my location and then delete location, and then I would put in Reno.
Thank you. I knew it was simple.
Yeah, you have to do directions first. Yeah, you have to do directions first.
Okay.
So, and then the other thing is all these different things. While we're talking about that kind of stuff, it's a travel thing. There's a wonderful app and website called Rome and the number 2 Rio, Rome to Rio. And it shows you, because it just made me think of this, because it'll show you how to walk, how to drive, how to use transit, how to fly from one location to another. And it really is cool. Rome to Rio. Let's get out of Apple Maps here, and let's just put in Reno, for instance. So I've gone to Reno in my map. So now if I go to the map and I press and hold, you'll notice what comes up down here is offline. And when I tap offline, it says, you can see here, I have downloaded Nevada and Intermountain. So if I want to do a new map, I can say download new map. And I don't want it by an area. Download new map. And I'll just say current location. So now I draw the map and you see this bounding rectangle, that tells me where I can do it. So like, let's say I'm going over here to the Eastern Sierras. Well, now I'm using my fingers to zoom in, or more particularly zoom out, but I zoom out only to a certain spot. It won't let me zoom out any farther. And that means that's the largest map I can download as one map. So, and in this case, you'll notice it says it's 2.1 gigabytes because it has all the waypoints and all the other stuff in it. So I could take this map and let's do this way. So now I can capture Mount Whitney in the lower right, and I can shorten this if I want, and it drops the size of the map. So there's from Sacramento past Lake Tahoe going out to the east, and then all the way down to Mount Whitney. So if I click download, fine. Then I come along and you'll notice, oh, I just noticed this. You notice these other lines? Those are the maps I've already downloaded. That's new, that's cool. So see, I have this map and I have this map already downloaded, so I wouldn't have to re-download it. Well, let's say I wanted to add a map that's just the Bay Area. I could do that. And then if I make it encompass less area, the map is smaller because it's not doing as much data. But you can see here where I've linked these other two maps together, and I already have those downloaded. And when I go into my downloaded maps, you can see they're there. And then when I'm done with these, I can delete them. So let me also show you how to do it on Google Maps. If you go to Google Maps, and they changed it around on me last time and I had to search. So I'm going to go and pick, I'll pick that. So now if I go, oh, come on. No, Explorer. See, why do they make it so difficult?
Just
Yeah.
think how the rest of us feel, Ken.
Yeah.
Well, but they used to, no, it used to have an arrow. It used to say download or offline, and I'm just not seeing it now. And it really pisses me off. So use Apple Maps. So again, like I said, is it downloads it completely, and people are under the misconception that if I'm out of cell phone range, that I can't use navigation, and that's not true. And I'll give you an example. Years ago, in fact, I'll do this. I'll do Tonopah, Nevada. So years ago, I wasn't going to Tonopah, but I was going Highway 4 up and over Highway 4 over the Sierras. And after Bear Valley, I lost all cell signal. And I had not saved the map because you couldn't save them at the time. But luckily, I had put it in my navigation on my phone, because I went over and I was going all the way over into this area right in here. And for 2 hours, I was out of cell phone range. But luckily, and I was doing this at night, and Highway 4 at some spots gets so narrow that there is not even a center line in the road. But when it's dark like that, you want to know what curves are coming up. And so since I had done my navigation when I had a cell signal, the GPS continued to chart where I was, and it followed on the route that was already on my map. The only thing it won't do is if you need to stop and change directions, or let's say you take a different route, it wouldn't do that, because to calculate those routes and everything, you used to need an internet connection. And now you don't need to, because you can download the map of that area. And let's see here. When you download the map of the area, it does have all the waypoints and things, so you can do new directions and things like that. And I'm just, now look, see, now it shows up in Google Maps. I did Tonopah here after you. So when you slide this, starts with direction, start, etc. Now download offline map. I select that, and I do the same thing with Google Maps. Well, you notice there I got too big, and it just, you can only do the most amount of data you can do is this rectangle. And then you would click download. And again, it includes all of the information for waypoints, restaurants, all that stuff is included in this data that it downloads. So that's Google Maps. Apple Maps, again, you press and hold. You're doing this and you press and hold. And then you come down here and it says offline. And that's when you download a new map. And the other thing is, since I have these other maps downloaded, before I go up there, I can hit update all, and it will update those maps with any new information, but none of mine needed updating. And then the settings are download on Wi-Fi only, so you're not doing your cell. But to be honest, I'm going to want it to be on my cell whenever I need to Wi-Fi, because I may be getting where I realize I'm approaching an area that I want to do. And then you can optimize the storage. So automatically remove and download maps you haven't used in a while. It will usually ask you. And then you can also say only use offline maps if you're in a place where you do have an internet connection, but let's say you're on a ship or something where it's not good, or they charge you for that, then it says only use offline maps. So I wouldn't necessarily say that's one you need to do. So that's a great feature. All right, let me unshare. Any other questions on the phone before I unshare my phone?
I have one, Ken.
Yeah.
This is probably simple, but when you're using Apple Maps and you want to mute the the audio, you just want to see the map, if you're having a conversation in the car or something, and you may find it distracting momentarily. How do I do that?
Yeah, let me see here. Because all of mine, I use the one in the car. So let's say I'm going to
Yeah, thank you, Al. We have the same problem of trying to find how to mute our map discussion.
Well, now, are you talking about when you're hand holding it, or
No,
when it's going through your car?
I'm in my car, and I boot the Apple Maps and set in on the destination stuff and all that, and then I go. And this is typically where I'm not interested in directions so much as traffic conditions, and I don't need to have my conversation interrupted by by the app telling me where to go.
So I'm in directions, and you notice the little upward facing arrow on the bottom right.
Okay.
And there's voice volume, softer, normal, louder.
Okay, well, that'll help.
But the other thing is, when it's giving you directions, at the time it's giving you directions, you can use the volume up, volume down, because remember, the volume up, volume down on all Apple devices depend on what's talking to it at the time. And in fact, look on the screen right there. I have a mute button right there.
Okay. Well, I guess I've never noticed that.
Yeah, that's wild.
I'm not seeing it, to tell you the truth, what you guys are looking at.
Upper third of the screen on the right-hand
You have
side.
to be in navigation. You have to be going somewhere first.
Right. I put something in and I just have a car or.
Hey, Al,
You-
thanks for that question. I appreciate that.
It's always a,
Oh, okay. Yeah, got it. Thank you.
you see it, Mary? Okay, great.
Yeah, I hadn't hit the go.
Yeah, you
Kids.
have to hit the go. You have to be in navigation. And also, if you'll notice the little compass rose in the upper left, if you, oh no, it doesn't work on this. I was saying you could change the heads up display on that. And
Hey,
just
Ken,
so you
what-
know, the nice thing about, so I use Apple Maps if I'm walking in a city because the directions will show up on my watch.
Yeah, that's really cool.
and
I
it
love having,
vibrates.
I love getting the tactile sensation when when I have to turn or something, you know?
Yep. And you'll notice it gives you a different vibration for left versus right.
I never noticed that.
I never
Yep.
noticed.
Pay
Yep.
attention to that. Yeah.
John has a question.
Go ahead, John.
Yes, I'm looking at a photo on my iPhone and I want to reduce the size of the photo. How do I do that?
Because you're going to send it to somebody.
Yes,
And how are you going to send it?
email.
Okay. So when you go in, and do you use the Apple Mail app or do you use your browser for your mail?
I think I use my browser.
Well, okay. I'm going to show you how to do it with Apple Mail. So I've got this photo right here. And if I hit the share, oh, it's of course displays. No, but the problem is it's displaying the photo, not the. Yeah, so let me hit this. Yeah, so, yeah, crap. All right, well, go to some photo in your photos because the problem is, because
Yes,
if I'm
I
doing
just-
screen sharing, actually, let me do this with Zoom. This will be easier. Hang on one sec here. I'm gonna stop the share and I'm gonna share my screen. iPad, iPhone share. What's it doing? Okay. Give it a second. So the little share box that has the box with the upward facing arrow pointing out of it. Let's see if this does. See, the problem is when we go to photos, it goes into display mode. Yeah, so let's see if this works the other way. It doesn't. So when I hit the share box, it comes up, and when it says email, you tap email, and it still doesn't show on your screen.
Mine just says mail. It doesn't say email.
Yeah, and then when you go to send it,
Okay, mail.
when you go to send it, it'll ask you, do you want to do it actual size, small, medium, or large?
Now, I'm not seeing that on my screen.
Okay, hang on. Well, the problem is mine won't display it this way. Let's see. Yeah, when I hit send, when I hit the send button, it comes up and says small, medium, large, or actual size.
Okay, I see that now. Okay, thank you. You've answered my question.
So, and that's if you're using, and that'll go right into the Mail app. The same thing applies on your Mac. So,
Okay. I
Thank
have
you.
a question about that too.
okay.
If you're doing, oh, you're in mail and you have, oh shoot, what do you call that? You're in your Oh, you have a picture in your return mailbox. Let me figure it out. I'll
If
ask
someone
you
sent
that.
you a picture,
No, it's my picture. If I'm doing a return,
you mean a reply?
yes, uh-huh.
Yeah. And sometimes it doesn't put the picture in there.
Well, it does put the picture in it, but it's always too large. And I try and make it small, and it never makes the picture small. It's in the return address thing.
Got me on that one.
Okay.
Sorry. Roy,
Isn't she
go ahead.
talking about the same previous question, that if she goes to send it, it's going to ask her what size?
Yeah,
No,
but
I'm
but
not.
in a reply, what I think she's doing is she's going from mail and then going finding the photo.
No,
So she's going from mail to get the photo out of photos. When you send it, you're pushing it. You're going from photos to send it in mail. It's a push or a pull. And I think that you're always going to run into that problem when you try to do it that backwards way. So if you create a brand new email and just send it to the person and do it from photos, you won't have that issue. And by the way, it works if you're doing multiple photos. And the rule should be, don't ever send any photo more than 10 megabytes. Some email services will do 20 megabytes, but you don't know if it worked or not. So don't send any more than 10. So, all right.
Dan?
Roy, you got a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, is there a way to block phone calls from 771 area code?
Nope.
Okay.
You can only block specific numbers.
okay, Ken, this is Joan again. I've got it. I've got the picture in signatures. And it never will make it smaller.
Well, you shouldn't put pictures in signatures.
All right, then.
Yeah, because that's actually considered bad etiquette these days.
Okay,
Because it burdens the email system a lot. What places, when they send you pictures, they're usually a link to a web thing. But is it always big in
Yeah.
signatures? Yeah, you should. So the way you can take a photo and make it smaller is fire it up in preview and then save it as a JPEG or a PNG, much smaller, and then put that in your signature.
I've tried. Okay, that's all.
Well, but you can tell by the file size.
Uh-huh.
When you save the file size, you can tell it's smaller.
Okay, I'll try.
So let me show you. I'll share my screen. So I'm going to go to a photo. Oh gosh, let's see here. We'll just go to this photo. So I'm going to export this photo first, put it on my desktop. I'll put it into downloads. It's a JPEG. Boom. Export that photo. I'll put it into my downloads. So now I go to my downloads. And that's it. I'm going to say open with preview. So now it opens in preview. It's full size. I go into preview and I come down and I say export. And I'm going to export this as a JPEG, but with really low resolution. Kilobytes. Let's see what happens. And I'm going to hit save. And I'm going to rename this as small. Boom. So now that's how it looks normally. And now, so that's 1.4 megabytes is the current one. And 2.89 is the little one. And that's that may or may not display big. Yeah, there's resolution and there's depth. You're gonna have, you may have to convert it. But again, I used to keep a little picture of me in front of not a picture, a drawing, a line drawing of me in front of a computer, but it's really fallen out of favor with most emails. And it could even get you sent, because the thing is most people, if they're on a PC and stuff, they make it so they can't see JPEGs because there could be problems with them. It's a security issue.
Okay.
All right.
Mhm.
Cool. Well, I'm going to hit the road. Those of you board members, is Thomas around? He was around earlier, right?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. So I will make sure that I'll try to have everything fired up by 1, but if not, you may have to sign in to Zoom with the MacNexus credentials and then
Okay.
fire the meeting up that way.
Gotcha.
And then I'll try get in by phone, but if I'm in a bad cell area, that's the only thing I can think of.
I've known that one. I've dealt with that one lately. Yeah.
Ken,
But then, and then Bob White is taking over doing the
Bob
the-
Rush. Yeah.
Bob
Ken?
Rush. Yeah.
you know, it's really not necessary for you to sign in again. What we did last time, we just switched me to the host, and I just kept the session open for the 1 hour until the meeting started. So
Stop the
it's
recording.
fine.
Yeah, let's stop the recording. We can do that. Hang on.